Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So, we're going to understand the reasoning behind some of the causes of childhood abuse. It's not an excuse, but to try to understand why some people hurt children. You've heard the saying, hurt people hurt people. It's not a simple answer on why some adults, parents, caregivers abuse children. But we do see some patterns in it. And sometimes if you've been in a narcissistic relationship, you can kind of see or foresee some abuse and how to handle the situation because it can get toxic. Sometimes narcissists get violent physically. Sometimes they might feel entitled. So there is a higher risk than as opposed to a healthy person for possibly sexual predatorship. So, what causes or increases a person's risk to abuse a child? So, if they have a history of child abuse or neglect during their own childhood, it's really odd, but it seems through research, through the things I've experienced, that you can see how much a child's upbringing can affect who they are as an adult, how they handle certain stressors, certain situations. So be aware of your person. Were they abused as a child or neglected? Because that can possibly lead to mental illness such as narcissistic personality disorder, some other disorders, differences in thought processes, if they focus on themselves or the child when they have lack of empathy, that can increase profoundly the risk of child abuse. So if they also have a substance abuse type of disorder, substance use and abuse, that can lead to increased risk of abuse to a child. Physical, mental health conditions, if they deal with depression, high anxiety. Now, this is something that I want you guys to be aware of. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a one-time effect. CPTSD is some of the stressors that we went through, complex over time. Post-traumatic stress disorder that can increase a person's risk of abusing a child. So be aware of yourself, be aware of your triggers, because we're rewiring our brain to a healthy state. If you're dealing with CPTSD, your brain is kind of sick right now and it needs some healing, because it can cause us to act out of character and poor parent-child relationships. So be careful when you're dealing with your children that you rebuild that relationship if they were um, caught up in the middle and you didn't know how to handle the situation. Try to give them some attention, because if you have a poor child parent relationship, it can get kind of stressed during teenage years with all those hormones going. Also, as a child starts to exert some independence. So be strong during that time. But people who abuse, socioeconomic stress from financial issues. We just went through that pandemic. Finances can be tight. Medical problems can arise, unemployment, different stressors can react and cause somebody to abuse because they're dealing with the stress that they're going through. And based on their coping skills, they tend to focus on themselves when they're going through a hard time. And that can cause abuse to the child. A lack of understanding about the basic childhood development. Sometimes you want a child to achieve at a certain rate, and it's just not possible for the child. If you want a 6-year-old to walk, or 6-month-old to walk, developmentally, that's very, very rare, almost completely unheard of. So we have to have the expectations meet what our child can do. So there are motor skills that need to develop, social skills that need to develop, coping skills that children need to go through. And also somebody who has a lack of parenting skills, to know how to handle these pressures, struggles of raising a child. If the person who becomes an abuser They may have had a lack of support from family members, friends, the community, neighbors, so they're under even greater stress. It takes a village to raise a child, and there's a reason that saying came about is because it can get overwhelming sometimes. Um, you know, we do need people to help us at times. It's okay to ask people for help. So caring for a child with intellectual or physical abuse or disabilities, can make caregiving more difficult. Um, Sometimes narcissists or just people who don't have the right parenting skills can see it as a burden. It might be overwhelming, it might be frustrating, it might be scary. There's a lot of emotions that go on with that. So, family stress, family crisis, which can be caused by domestic violence, relationship turmoil. Sometimes during divorce, stressors can get high. Separation can cause, sometimes it's not always physical abuse, it can be emotional abuse, getting the child in the middle of a custody battle or custody exchanges or even just communication. That causes some abuse to the child. So we have to be aware of our actions, of the people that we put our children around, that the healthier the person, the healthier our child will be. So we need to go through our stages of grief and be whole again so we can bring a whole parent to our child. Personal mental health issues. A lot of mental health issues include low self-confidence or esteem, feelings of incompetence, dealing with shame, and that can cause them to take certain things out on the child that they shouldn't. So there are certain behaviors, certain signs. If the person is ignoring or denying the children's bad behaviors, any changes in the behavior, sometimes even just a change, whether they get quiet. Sometimes you think, wow, I'm the golden child. They're very quiet. They might be harboring some inner feelings. And by using languages, that show that they view the child as a burden or worthless to them, that's a sign that they're an abusive person. Cutting the child down instead of building them up can be very devastating, and it can affect a child lifelong. So another sign is demanding physical or academic performances that the child's just not able to achieve. Are they the superstar basketball player? Are you putting in, or the person putting an unknown expectation, unachievable expectation onto the child? Um, is the person rarely feeling or showing affection towards a child? So if you do move on, you're thinking about having a step parent or step partner. Um, how are they acting around the child? Are they dismissive to the child? Because if you just left a abusive relationship, you want a healthier relationship for the children that are involved. If there's any signs of hostility towards a child, and you'll see that a lot during the child acting out, where the person who would be abusive would show more hostility. And if they don't really show concern for the child, that's a sign that this person might be abusive. Do they shrug things off when the child has some emotional issues or they got hurt? Are they dismissed? Are they even without the spoken word shown as they're a burden or not wanted? And if you're feeling that your person might hurt your child, there are resources. And the most important thing is to remove yourself from that situation. And um if you're dealing with not handling things the right way, try to calm down, take a breather, don't escalate things. So one of the most important things to prevent child abuse is to recognize the feelings that are catapulting, whether it's you or the person who is an abuser. If you feel maybe you're acting out of character or struggling to maintain composure. Um, it's good as far as changing the situation for the abuser to realize that this is not how it needs to be handled. Um, so there are doctors, there's therapists. The 24/7 hotline is 800 a child, which is 800-422-4453. And they'll talk to you and they'll direct you to some free resources that are around your area. This is in the United States. One is our country code. I don't know what type of resources they could find outside, but if you need something quick, you could still call them. There's also something important. There's an organization that helps families and also individuals where they'll link you with some family support services, and that's called the Child Welfare Information Gateway. And they can be found at childwelfare.gov. And it's the Child Welfare Information Gateway. So you can report abuse, or you can find help with the personal situation. It's really important to take care of our children, because I think some of you guys know that I'm a teacher. And over the years, there has been definitely a change in children's behavior. Hurt people. So the more these children are hurting, they're hurting, and it's like getting more extreme. Um, and it's like a pandemic or an epidemic. Pandemic, pretty much, all the stressors. Life used to be simple. I'm 52. Life used to be a lot simpler. You turn on the TV, you got a couple choices. That's what you got. Now, you need a college degree to turn on your television, to search through everything, all the apps that we need. We become so dependent on high technology that we forget the basics of life. People are losing interpersonal skills because they're wrapped up in on their phones and stuff. And I just saw something that was kind of sad. I'm scrolling through, and I see this TikTok of this girl. I can't remember how old she was because it's just looking at her, and I just knew young, 12 to 16 years old. I don't remember, but she's like, her caption was about to leave. My words are different, but about to leave the house, or about to leave the building because of a fire. So she's like doing her little TikTok. TikToks are kind of quick, but you still gotta get into the thing. I don't know if she picked a filter, like a beauty filter. You gotta, and then to scroll through to post it. She's taking a picture, taking a video uh, inside the building instead of evacuating. Those of you who know me know I'm a burn victim. It is not funny. Buildings can go up quickly. She probably didn't know which room the building was in. I'm guessing it was an apartment. That's my guess. But you still don't know. You don't know if the hallways are going to fill up with smoke. You get out as soon, like, it's no joke. Burns hurt. Smoke can kill you even if you don't catch on fire. And society is just wrapped up in TikTok, YouTube. It it astounds me. I'm kind of lost for words to just the coping skills. You know, this is more important. Like, that's low self-esteem. Oh, finally my opportunity. I get to post something cool. Instead of save your life, you post something cool, and children are being abused. And I can see it in the schools. I don't even have to know the story behind it. I can see who is at least being verbally cut down, neglected. You can see a change in the children and how they cope with things, their interpersonal relationships, their stressors. Um, the ones that stress over being the golden child, you can see. It's almost like the more you study the psychology behind things, you can almost tell what the child's going through. And that's kind of scary because before, you didn't see these things. And it's really sad. I know some of the stories of kids seeing murders, kids seeing sexual assaults or being sexually assaulted. I had a friend whose little girl um, got yelled at by the mom and was told to go stand in the corner. And the little girl's like, okay, but do I have to take my clothes off this time? Or again, do I have to take my clothes off again? And the mom's like, what? And they found out that the husband's friend sent her in the corner and told her to take clothes off. And that's how she found out that her daughter was being sexually molested. Um, good families, things happen to them. And, you know, it's, I keep using the word snowball, but that's what it's doing is it's snowballing. Um, you know, that little girl started using drugs. And, premarital births, things like that. I'm not judging on that stuff. I had a child out of wedlock. But we all go through certain things. We all make certain choices. And you know, we have to take care of our kids. We have to protect them. So as you're ruminating, think about, some of us long for our person back. Are they a good person to keep in our child's life? Are they a good person to keep in our adult child's life, around our grandchildren? And if we're struggling with certain things, we need to get the help to figure out what our triggers are, how to control our anger, how to balance where we give our children what they need, because it will affect your relationship with them later on in life. The sooner the child is taken care of appropriately, it'll make the abuser's life better, to where and that's the thing, like this is where it cuts hard. It's really sad, like sometimes um you don't want your kid walking on eggshells. Your kid doesn't deserve the abuse. So I hope those words didn't come out the wrong way. um to where the triggers have to and it's not a fault of the child. The child could get hurt and cry. It's not the child's fault, but that might be a trigger, and that's not a fair trigger. It has to be handled by the adult the right way. And sometimes love can stop the crying, but anger or abuse causes more crying, or it causes internalization where the child shuts down and they're going to act out, they're going to explode one day or hold it so deeply. The suicide rates are so sad right now. They're on the rise, like pretty extremely. And, these children come into the world innocent. And it's you don't want to tarnish them with all these aggressive, the video games and the television shows, and um, it stirs things up. It makes them like scared of the world, and we have to be cautious. But wouldn't it be nice if we could just have a beautiful world where everybody just gets along and I don't know, the last couple days I kind of had a hard time just seeing all the little intricacies and how many things. You talk about that butterfly effect. One little thing, I talk about one little negative thing can cause somebody to have a bad day, to cause this, and but good things too can change things. Pay it forward. That person might pay it forward, and just all the changes. So do your part to keep that good in this world. And that's why some of us will go through this, like, I want revenge, like, fuck that motherfucker. We have a choice of planting a good seed or a bad seed. We don't need revenge. It's not gonna, it's not gonna make it better. It's gonna cause a war. Avoid the war. Fight the battles that matter. And the battle that I think matters is dealing with the trauma that we've been through and refocusing on the positive instead of ruminating about the negative. Stressors, we have to learn how to release stress. You can meditate or do yoga or exercise. It's like a natural stress relief. Get the right amount of sleep. And we have to protect our children. They're our future. So thank you for watching. One-on-ones are available. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to share some stories to kind of warn people, or some positive thoughts to keep people healing. And I'll see you in the next video.